Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead. He can easily live, feed his family, have a second, third home, more cars, a new truck, no problem. And that's how most of our family, my family, they never even dream about this shit. I came up with a 600 square foot house. I mean, which is, even at that, I used to pay $25 a square foot.
To renovate.
Okay, 600 feet. Let's call it 1,000 feet, like the big house down the end of the street. I mean, it's no money. I mean, but the house flipping is, when it was discovered after the Korean War, was a way a lot of people, instead of getting a second job or third job, they did this. And for sure, firemen, firefighters and that kind of thing, they were able to supplement their incomes. And a lot of firefighters, my kid brother, his buddies that are retiring are going from firefighting, 30 years, pension, 75% I think at 30 years, to this, real estate. And real estate, you can work at your own pace. Okay, I don't believe you should work at your own pace but normally it's associated with a laissez-faire lifestyle, but it produces money. And most people, in Texas, you've got a pickup truck. Well, they don't hang guns in the back window anymore, but a pickup truck, Winchester repeater in the back window, and some alligator boots. You can't have alligator boots anymore either. I mean, you're in hog heaven. You're in hog heaven. I used to have a belt buckle that said oil field trash and proud of it. And I used to wear tight jeans and my expensive boots and my 10-gallon hat. And I used to have those cowboy shirts, that are skin tight. I mean, I was there. But the difference is I go into my $20 million plane, go to the airport, get in my $20 million plane at that time and fly away, and they drive their pickup truck to their mobile home. That was the difference in lifestyle. Yes, sir.
One more point is to this famous point with 500,000 a year. One lawsuit or some health issue could wipe you out where what you're doing.
But then he's going to have a management company in his mother-in-law's name, and see, what happens is guys like him, if somebody hits him in the head with an axe, they don't take him to court. You don't have to worry about court. Yeah, bullet in the head is, yeah.
That's getting them first.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what's the takeaway of this is a great model, but all the shit you've learned, you're gonna be able to apply 90% of it. Yeah. I mean, I expect you to take out like a jackrabbit. I mean, a jackrabbit. But any questions? Yes, sir.
I think apart from the industry, the strategies are huge. Yeah. The carry-out is really, really good.
And just a fucking Brazilian meathead. I mean, they're not dime a dozen because there's not that many Brazilians in the United States. But and if it wasn't for Brazil, of course he's from there. I mean, it's in chaos. I told you I've got a doc down there, veterinary, went from Portugal to there. But I mean, it works, guys. I mean, there's no question about it. But he has got some sophisticated nuances how to come up with leads, because basically that's lead generation. His lead generation funnel is going to be chock-a-blocked, as they say in Britain, and and a lot of the sales techniques, a lot of things like that Dan teaches, can be applied very effectively to the QLA model, very effectively. And but you have to define big ticket. Even though I tease about big ticket, you have to define what the big ticket. Big ticket to you is now a new number. It's now a new number. And, we use Roberto as an example. Now, admittedly, that's, the first year out of the blocks, not many people do that. But some do. 70 million is not all the money in the world, is it, Marcus? But it's better than a poking eye with a sharp stick. And it's very doable. It's very doable. But when you remember, you're never going to achieve greater than your highest expectation, your craziest, highest expectation. And unless you're going after hundreds of millions and billions, even if you fall short by 60% or 70%, you're still going to have 50, 100 million. And that's what the mentality is. And as Roberto said in the film, he says the mindset. He says, my mindset was, my goals were just expanded, significantly. And that's why the kids are doing so well. And as long as interest rates, but even if interest rates don't stay low, but right now, as long as they're low, it's like taking candy from a baby. It just is. Any questions about his model or about anything else? Yes, Dan.
I'm just walking through a scenario in my mind. Let's say I'm acquiring 5-6 companies. 100% seller finance, 100% seller finance. I push the payment to 4 or 5 years.
So far, so good.
So far, so good, right? So I'm going through this. So with a little bit of luck, hopefully I will exit in the 4 or 5 years. So by that time, I guess I...
No, you'd be thinking, luck won't get you out in 4 or 5 years. If you want a shorter exit than 7, then 4 years is your exit in your mind. And so everything will start working towards that in your subconscious. I was rich before my 39th birthday, but I got fairly wealthy on my 39th birthday because I had for 15 years, I've got to be filthy rich by the time I'm 40. So it wasn't by accident. I should have said as soon as humanly possible, but I didn't at that time. Because in those days, I believed in time limits for goals, and now I know that doesn't work. None of the big guys have time limits. I was the only guy who had time limits. So now but you can exit in 4 or 5 years.
Or just finance it again.
A total recapitalization, let's use a new buzzword. A total recapitalization is an exit. Now you can go back and you can tell, you're going to be back just at the end of the holiday season. You're probably going to go to a New Year's Eve party. Is that what regular people do, New Year's Eve party, that kind of thing? And just say that, your new goal is to have a total recapitalization in 48 months, and they'll look at you, bless you, what are you talking about? But yeah, you can. And again, depending on your share, bless you, depending on your share distribution to the other, dream team guys, you're going to walk away with between 55 and 70%. Now, when I say 55 or 70% is better than 100% nothing, Dan's already got money. So it's not 100% of nothing because he's already got something. But this new entity he's going to build,
Should I do it my holding and then all my companies just start a new acquisition?
Correct. Acquisition vehicle.
And then that's a holding, and then you buy all these.
Yeah. Acquisition consortium. Because nobody knows. I knew you had a question. I'm going to get back to you. Because nobody knows. That's like an amorphous. It's smoke and mirrors. But it's been working for me for 50 years. Because nobody really knows what a consortium is. What the fuck's that mean? And I honestly couldn't tell you, even though I've been using it almost 50 years. And all I know is it works. That I know it works. We've heard it a few times, investment consortium, et cetera. Yeah, but Dan, you could do that, and you should do that. And I'm not suggesting that if there's a spread, but you have the money to make up a spread. Say a couple others in the room have it as well. Rather than make that extra 30 phone calls, just write a check. And I did it as well. Question here.
It's not more of a question. It's what's your input on? I've run into a lot of ALFs who I guess the owner just gave up and shut down. So the facilities are there with all the furniture, equipment,
you mean
everything.
They just quit, walked away?
They just walked away. So now what's for sale is the actual building with everything inside. What is your input on?
Well, it depends where it is. Depends if they were forced to close up, they lost their licenses, shit happened, okay? There's different closures, okay? If it's just closing, it's there, that means it's not part of liquidation or bankruptcy. He just walked away. well then, I mean, you ought to be able to buy that, you know. I would buy an existing business a few blocks away and be able to farm out patients, you know, as patients pass away or as patients, you know, leave. Occasionally you'll lose patients because they want to spend the last 8 or 10 weeks of their life at home. Okay, so they'll move out. They don't always die, but I mean, and I would look at seriously leasing it with a buy option. Leasing it with buy option, or leasing it with a buy option tied to your ability to fill it up, and then let them share in that profit. But yeah, most of the assisted living you're going to see are not purpose-built buildings. They weren't built for assisted living, like the one I looked at down in England a few weeks ago. Most of them are going to be triplex. Turned into a assisted living, or some, you know, houses. Sometimes you'll see there'll be a family compound, 5 houses on 3 acres, and they've turned that into assisted living.
Well, no, one of the ones that I saw was an 80-bed
Oh shit!
actual facility.
That's in the sweet spot, dear. I mean, that's 80 beds. It makes my ears ring. Remember, 40 to 80. 80, the private equity guys are mooching in on your territory, because that's where the obviously bigger numbers. But they will buy from you 40 to 80 bed facilities rolled up, so you've got like 200 or 250 all day long, and they will pay you. You know, we're buying them for 4 or 5, and they will pay you for almost an immediate sale. They'll pay you double. If you want to, you know. If you want to work at it a little bit, they'll pay you up to triple, meaning 15. 15. And then the key is they're going to want somebody to stay to run the business for some period of time. Now, I wouldn't let Jessica go. If I was a PE, which I used to run, I say, Jessica, I mean, we're going to have to cut a deal here because she's knowledgeable. She sounds knowledgeable because she is knowledgeable. And you even say, and I almost believed, I want to believe that you actually care about the patients. I want to believe that, you know, because I don't. I don't pretend to, but it's always nice. It's really managed. Somebody's got to care about the patients. But since I'm not running them, I mean, it doesn't matter what I think about them. But so I would cut a deal with her to stay on. I'd give her part of the holding company, and I'd make sure that she didn't wiggle off the hook. And you're going to find owners like that. So, I mean, and when you find one, you'll know immediately. You know, when they say that they care about the patient, and they mean it. And they mean it. And normally those are always healthcare professionals. They're not, for sure, PE guys. They're not, professional investors. They're not family offices. They're normally, you know, when they got into healthcare, it's because they want to help people. That's so far at the other end of the continuum for me. I mean, it's like trying to compare the devil to Jesus, you know. And, of course, I'm the Jesus one, not the devil, of course. Yeah. There was another question. Yes, sir.
Mr. Peña, here it came up a lot of the times that acquiring is one thing, but running is a whole.
It's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Correct. You're absolutely right about that.
Can you talk a little bit about?
He learned something. Okay. This is the 5th thing now, 6th thing. The 6th thing. I mean, he's swinging for the fences. I mean, he's got that cricket bat and he's just swinging for the fences. So what do you want me to give you an example of?
How do you run this?
Now, even though I make fun of him and I tease him, he's asking questions that some of you guys in this room don't totally understand, but you're not asking me because you think you understand. So even though I beat him up, you need somebody like that to make sure when you leave here, you understand. Okay, so go ahead. I'm not trying to be nice to you, but have a compliment, so don't get all wishy-washy on me.
So even this was especially brought up by Raymond and Dan, that acquiring is one thing. What are you going to do when you have to run it? And only because it came from these two, the
Seasoned. Well, I don't look at Dan and think he's seasoned because I'm twice as old as he is. Yeah. But Raymond for sure. No. But they have Raymond's had a lot of employees, and he has a lot of employees currently, and it's hard. So what's the question?
So how do you run this once you acquire it, especially when you don't have
And Dan and I talk about this a lot. How do you incentivize these people to work hard, not steal, and cheat? Okay, I do it the other way: not cheat, not steal, and work hard. I can deal with them maybe working 75% as long as they don't steal from me or cheat me. Okay, but so you want to give them a economic reason to do the best they can, to be like when we say be all you can be. And that takes money. Now, Maslow's hierarchy of needs that came out 60 years ago says, self-actualization, soft music, and that's all horse shit. And I said it earlier, Andrew Carnegie had 4 rules of financial success. Financial motive must prevail. Financial motive must prevail, financial motive must prevail, and financial motive must fucking prevail. Money talks and bullshit walks. You pay the people well, and you make sure the bonuses are close to the act of a success, not at the end of the year, at the end of 6 months. At the end of the week, daily bonuses works best. Cash daily bonuses work the very best. But that's the hardest to do. But if you have a sales force, you have a sales force and you want them to perform, cash, and you just eat the withholding, eat the taxes, and eat all the other shit. But they will perform so much more getting paid cash. But financial motives must prevail. And giving away cars and trips to Vegas and all that shit works. All that shit works, but you have a layered tier. Dan knows more about that than I do. You have a layered tier, send the top 10 guys to Vegas for a weekend or some period of time. They used to, in Florida, marlin fishing and shit like that. You take them on a 4-day big fishing trip, which is basically a big drunk up. All that stuff works. Only after they perform. Because the money it costs you pales in complexion compared to the amount of revenue they add. It just does. And again, remember, you come late to Christmas parties and you leave early, and you don't go on the fishing trips with them. You don't go to Vegas with them. You may drop in with your wife for a dinner, and then you leave. Because familiarity breeds contempt. As soon as you get friendly, human nature is they take advantage. And human nature is it's harder for you to, fire somebody if you kind of like them. That was never my downfall, because I basically don't like anybody. What are you smiling about?
Sort of follow-up question to that, and this might be an
This is his brother speaking. Just, it's a dynamic duo here.
We've spoken a lot about success, but what happens out of the 3-4 acquisitions, suppose that we make, if a deal that goes south, for any reason, if the revenue disappears, for any
well, in
reason,
assisted living, it's not going to disappear. You may have...
In any kind of company, in a cash flow lending situation...
You're not going to be able to, the cash flow dries up and you can't make the debt service. Well, that's why you want things like in home health that you're buying them at debt service is covered 2 or 3 times. I don't like deals that, you can borrow money at 1.15, even 1.05. But as soon as one contract goes away, one hiccup, one storm, one hurricane, and you're fucked.
So just to be able to know the worst case scenario, for example, we looked at a deal in which the seller was planning to leave with all the customers as soon as the deal goes through. When we were contemplating the non-compete. And
sure, I understand.
So in a situation like that, when the company just collapses, what happens? Or what should we be?
Well, no. You marshal your resources. You bring the top sales guy from the other 3 companies to come in and fill those beds. yourself, you get involved, you do whatever it takes. Because remember, once you default on a loan, I mean, somebody like me can come along and buy. I'd only do it to him. Yeah. See, he wants to do it, and I want to do it to him. So because some, and there are guys, bottom feeders, that go. So you don't want to default. You never want to default. Okay.
Because you can't do business again.
No, you can do business again, but you're subject to bottom feeders buying your debt from the bank and doing, and coming in and foreclosing on the loan, and now they own the business for only putting up the debt. And since we don't use much debt, you do a 90-10 deal, 90 seller finance, 10% commercial debt, and you default on the 10% commercial debt, they can foreclose on your business only buying up the 10% commercial debt portion, and then now they cut a new deal with the motivated seller that sold to you. So, I mean, you want to have as high a margin as humanly possible. Remember I said 20 to 40% because shit happens. And the assisted living homes that the kids owned from the hurricanes, the last hurricanes that came through Texas, Louisiana, I mean, those homes are literally underwater. And SBA doesn't cut you any slack just because you're in 6 feet of water. They couldn't give a shit less. So that does happen, but that's why you have to be not careful, because I don't want you to be so careful that you don't do a deal, but you got to lean on your board so they can give you the insight. They can give you the insight as to how to react when these bad things happen. Now, forget you going out of, I've had my bank go out of business. And then they bought up by another bank who doesn't like bedpans. And it wasn't a seller finance. It was 10% seller finance, 90% commercial fucking debt. So I know what the worry you think you have, that happens. Just like what happened here today, you never know how ugly life can get. And that's why my 3 million poors, I've been fucked in everyone twice. But I've had banks go out of business, and then the new banks don't like that part of the portfolio. So then they put it up for auction. And you try to participate in the auction, but private equity comes in and buys it. So, I mean, there's a lot of things, but the most important thing is buy as right as you can based on the information that you have. And that's why numbers are so important. And your dream team with the industry expert, etc. But if you have 5 homes, one goes down, you're marshaling your resources. You're taking, and you've done the spoke in hub, and you can take people from your other homes. You're gonna have to cut deals with them. They're not just going, oh yes, I'd love to help you out. We're gonna move my mother 300 miles to Lubbock. That's not gonna happen, okay? You'll cut new deals, and you'll do what you need to keep it afloat until you can get the cash flow up again. I read you part of that letter this morning. The sheriffs are, in town, taking the office furniture as I'm writing this.
So we're way better off having 5, 6 acquisitions.
Well, you're always better off mitigating your risk over several. I mean, that's a no-brainer. The most risk you're ever going to be at is the first one. That's right. Did you buy it right, or didn't you buy it right? And then let's say that it's 80% occupied. You got a 40 bedder. So 8 times 4, 32 beds are full. The rest are empty. 3 people die. 2 people move out. Now you're down 50% occupancy. And you were at 1.15 cash flow to debt service. You're in default. You don't have to be an engineer to figure that out. And so that's why I like them 1.5, 2, 2.5. And some of the kids are doing them, cash flows covering debt service 3 and 4 times. That's the best. That's the best. Yeah.
Real quick, back to this point. So, is it safe to say that
is this a Sri Lanka thing?
This is a Sri Lankan question?
Okay.
And this is a young person.
We don't discriminate here. I mean, Go ahead.
I'll get the Indians in.
Yeah.
So, is it safe to say the better you are at identifying and integrating the right motives, the right incentives, the better manager you are?
Yep.
To be practical, because management,
There's nothing practical about it. It's just
management though is like such a broad term.
Correct.
It can be misconstrued, right? But incentives, is that the key?
correct. Well, just call it money. Because the biggest incentive, and best incentive is cash money on the barrelhead at the end of the day. Or better yet, twice a day. So not many people can do that. But you want them to understand that you appreciate them. Not as a person, not as a fucking human being, not as a global warmer, none of that shit. You appreciate them as a human being because you're going to fucking pay them more than the competition. Bless you. And they have the ability to make more with you. And, Josh, God love it, poster child, teenage multimillionaire. That's a pretty good fucking incentive for all the rum-dums, right? Roberto. I mean, that's a pretty... And then, but pay. You're not there yet, but you're doing well, so we're going to pay you. And someday, you too can be Roberto. Or you too can be Josh Kim. But pay. Money's the only thing that works, that I've seen work. Except for you YouTubers, meatheads that you are. Goodbye, YouTube.